The rain was falling hard that evening in the small town of Maplewood, Ohio. The streets were almost empty, and the sound of thunder echoed through the quiet town. Street lights flickered, their yellow glow reflecting on the wet road. Ethan Miller, a 12-year-old boy, walked home from the local diner where he worked after school. His shoes were soaked, and his thin jacket did little to keep him warm. Still, he walked fast, carrying a small paper bag with leftover bread. It was the only dinner he would have tonight. Ethan was an orphan. His parents had died in an accident when he was only 6. Since then, he had lived in the town orphanage, a cold building with old paint and broken windows. But Ethan never complained. He believed life could get better if he just kept doing the right thing. That night, as he walked along the dark road, something caught his eye. A car stopped on the side of the street. Its headlights were still on, and smoke rose from the hood. A tall man in a long coat stood beside it, clearly frustrated. Ethan hesitated for a moment. It was late, and he was tired. But his kind heart wouldn't let him walk away. He stepped closer, his small voice calling out through the rain. "Sir, do you need help?" The man turned. He looked surprised to see a boy out alone in such weather. "Oh, I think the engine overheated," he said, wiping rain from his face. "I was driving home when the car just stopped." Ethan nodded and put down his bag. "I can help. I work at a diner. The owner fixes cars sometimes. I've seen how he does it." The man smiled weakly, almost amused. You think you can fix this?" Ethan didn't answer. He lifted the hood, steam rushing out. The smell of burnt oil filled the air. He quickly noticed a broken hose and said, "It's small, but if you have some tape or string, I can make it work for now." The man searched his car and handed Ethan some duct tape. Within minutes, Ethan made a quick fix. The man tried starting the car again, and to his surprise, it worked. The engine came back to life with a deep rumble. The man laughed in disbelief. "You did it?" Ethan smiled shyly, wiping rain off his face. "It's only for now. You should fix it properly later." The man looked at him curiously. "What's your name, kid?" "Ethan," he said softly. "I'm James Anderson," the man replied, extending his hand. "Thank you, Ethan. You really saved me tonight." Ethan shook his hand, his small fingers cold and wet. "It's okay. You looked like you needed help." James looked around. "Where do you live? I can give you a ride home." Ethan shook his head quickly. "No, sir. I live nearby. I can walk." James hesitated. "At least take this," he said, pulling out his wallet. He tried to hand Ethan a few dollars. But Ethan stepped back. "No, thank you. I didn't help you for money." That answer surprised James. His eyes softened. "Then why did you help me?" Ethan thought for a moment, his voice quiet but full of feeling. "Because maybe, one day, someone will help me too." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The rain fell harder, and thunder rolled in the distance. Ethan picked up his small paper bag and gave James a polite smile before walking away into the dark street. James stood there, watching the boy disappear into the rain. Something about that moment stayed with him: the boy's kindness, his honesty, his quiet strength. It wasn't just help, it was hope. As James drove away, he couldn't stop thinking about Ethan. "A kid like that," he murmured to himself, "he deserves the world." Meanwhile, Ethan walked the rest of the way to the orphanage. His clothes were heavy with rain, and his hands were shaking from the cold. But inside, he felt warm. He had helped someone, and that made him happy. When he reached the orphanage, the caretaker scolded him for being late. Ethan just nodded quietly and went to his small room. He sat on his bed, took out the bread from the diner, and ate slowly. The storm outside raged on, but Ethan looked out the window and whispered, "Someday, life will be better. I'll make it better." That night, Mr. Anderson couldn't sleep. He kept seeing Ethan's face, a boy with no umbrella, no money, yet so full of goodness. He wrote something in his notebook before going to bed. "Find the boy who helped me. Remember his name, Ethan Miller." He didn't know it yet, but that promise would change both their lives forever. Many years passed since that rainy night in Maplewood. The little boy who once helped a stranger was now a young man, standing on the edge of adulthood. Ethan Miller, now 19, still lived in the same town, but the world around him had changed. The orphanage was closing soon, and he had nowhere to go. He had turned 18 a year ago, which meant he was no longer a child in the system. The government support had stopped. But Ethan didn't lose hope. He worked during the day at a small auto repair garage and took free online classes at night. He wanted to become an engineer, someone who could build, create, and fix things that mattered. Every morning, Ethan woke up early, washed his face with cold water, and went to work. His hands were always dirty with oil and grease, but he didn't mind. "If I keep learning, I'll make it one day," he often told himself. He didn't have many friends. Most people his age were in college, living comfortable lives. But Ethan didn't envy them. He believed that kindness and hard work were his best tools. Sometimes, when he walked home from the garage, he would pass the same street where he once helped that stranger years ago. The memory always made him smile. He could still see the man's surprised face and hear the sound of rain falling on the car hood. He never saw that man again. But deep down, Ethan hoped that wherever he was, the stranger was doing fine. Life wasn't easy. There were days when Ethan didn't have enough money for food. He'd eat a piece of bread and drink water before going to bed. But he never complained. He just whispered to himself, "Keep going, Ethan. Don't give up." The garage owner, Mr. Ray, liked Ethan because he was honest and hard-working. "You remind me of myself when I was your age," he once said. "Keep learning, kid. You'll go far." At night, Ethan sat at an old computer in the public library. He studied online lessons about engines, machines, and computers. His eyes would hurt from looking at the screen too long, but he kept studying. One evening, after finishing his shift, Ethan checked his email at the library. Usually, there was nothing, just spam or junk mail. But this time, he saw something different. Subject: Internship Opportunity, Anderson Technologies, New York City. Ethan blinked. Anderson Technologies, he whispered. He had heard of that company before. It was one of the biggest tech companies in America, known for building futuristic machines and helping young inventors. He opened the email carefully. "Dear Ethan Miller, we are impressed by your profile and would like to invite you to apply for our internship program in New York. Please fill out the attached form and submit your work samples. Recruitment Team, Anderson Technologies." Ethan stared at the screen, confused. "Impressed by my profile," he said quietly. "But I never applied. How did they even find me?" He looked around the library. It didn't make sense. He wasn't famous. He didn't have a degree. He was just a mechanic from a small town. Still, something inside him whispered, "Maybe this is your chance." That night, Ethan filled out the form. He wrote honestly about his life, his dreams, and how he had learned everything on his own. He attached photos of the machines he had fixed: engines, bikes, small tools. Then he clicked submit and closed the computer. He didn't expect a reply. Days passed. Work at the garage went on as usual. Then, one morning, Mr. Ray walked in holding a letter. "Ethan, this came for you." It was an official envelope with the Anderson Technologies logo. Ethan's hands trembled as he opened it. "Congratulations. You have been selected for an interview at Anderson Technologies headquarters in New York City. Travel expenses will be covered. Please report next Monday. Ethan read it again and again. His heart raced. New York City, he whispered. I've never even left Ohio. Mr. Ray patted him on the shoulder. Looks like the world finally noticed you, kid. Ethan smiled shyly, tears in his eyes. I don't know how, but I won't waste this chance. That weekend, Ethan packed his small backpack. He had no suitcase, just a few clothes and a notebook full of sketches and ideas. Before leaving, he walked once more to the same road where he had met that stranger long ago. The rain started again, light and cold, just like that night. He looked up at the cloudy sky and said softly, I don't know who you were, but thank you. Maybe this is my new beginning. He took the night bus to New York, his first time traveling so far. The city lights glowed through the window as he arrived at dawn. Everything looked huge, fast, and full of energy. Ethan stepped out, clutching his backpack. He found his way to the company building, a tall, glass tower with the name Anderson Technologies shining on top. He stood there for a long time, his heart beating fast. He didn't know yet that behind those doors, someone had been waiting for him for years. Someone who remembered a small boy, standing in the rain. The morning sky over New York City was bright and alive. Cars honked, people rushed to work, and tall buildings touched the clouds. It was nothing like Ethan's quiet little town in Ohio. He stood outside Anderson Technologies, holding his backpack tightly. The glass building looked endless, shining under the sun. His heart beat fast, a mix of fear and excitement. This is it, he whispered. Just stay calm, Ethan. Be yourself. Inside the lobby, everything looked fancy and modern. There were plants, digital screens, and people dressed in suits. Ethan felt out of place in his old shirt and worn-out shoes. But he kept his head high and walked to the reception desk. Good morning, he said nervously. I'm here for the internship interview. The receptionist smiled kindly. Your name, please. Ethan Miller. She checked her list and nodded. Yes, Mr. Miller. Please go to the 25th floor. Someone will meet you there. Ethan thanked her and stepped into the elevator. As it moved upward, his reflection in the mirror made him smile nervously. Who would believe a boy from an orphanage would come this far? When the elevator doors opened, Ethan found himself in a bright office with glass walls and people typing on computers. A young woman greeted him. Hi, Ethan. I'm Rachel, the HR coordinator. Welcome to Anderson Technologies. Her warm smile made him relax a little. She gave him a visitor badge and said, You'll meet with a few team members and then the CEO will join for the final round. Ethan froze. The CEO? I'll meet him too. Rachel laughed softly. Don't worry. He likes to meet new interns personally. It's part of our company culture. Ethan nodded, though his heart felt like it would jump out of his chest. The interview began. Ethan met two engineers who asked him questions about his experience. One of them said, So, you've never been to college? Ethan shook his head. No, sir. But I learned from videos and books. I fix engines every day. Machines, they make sense to me. The engineers exchanged a glance. They were impressed. Ethan showed them photos of his work, the old bike engine he rebuilt, a homemade generator he had designed using scrap parts. They smiled. You've got real talent, Ethan. After a while, Rachel returned. Mr. Anderson would like to meet you now, she said. Ethan stood up quickly. His hands felt cold. Anderson, the name sounds familiar, he thought. Where have I heard it before? He followed Rachel through a long hallway to a large office at the end. The door was tall and black, with the name James Anderson, CEO written in gold. Ethan stopped. His heartbeat echoed in his ears. James Anderson, he whispered to himself. Could it be? Rachel opened the door. Mr. Anderson, this is Ethan Miller. The man behind the desk stood up slowly. He was older now, with gray at his temples and a calm, powerful presence. His sharp eyes softened the moment he saw Ethan. Thank you, Rachel, he said. You can leave us. When the door closed, silence filled the room. Ethan felt nervous but also strangely connected to this man. Sir, it's an honor to meet you, he said quietly. Mr. Anderson studied him for a long moment. Ethan Miller, he repeated. That's quite a name. I've been waiting a long time to hear it again. Ethan blinked, confused. Sir. Mr. Anderson smiled slightly. Sit down, Ethan. Ethan sat. His mind was racing. He didn't know what the CEO meant. I've gone through your file, Mr. Anderson said. You've worked hard. No fancy school, no big chances, but still, you kept going. That's rare. Ethan nodded, unsure how to reply. Thank you, sir. I just try to do my best. Mr. Anderson leaned back in his chair, eyes thoughtful. Tell me something, Ethan. Do you believe small actions can change lives? Ethan looked surprised. Yes, sir. I think every good thing we do matters. Maybe not right away, but someday it does. Mr. Anderson's smile grew wider. That's exactly what I thought many years ago, when a young boy once helped me on a dark, rainy night. Ethan froze. His heart stopped for a second. Rainy night, he whispered. Yes, Mr. Anderson said softly. My car had broken down in a small town, Maplewood, Ohio. A little boy stopped to help me. He didn't want money. When I asked him why, he said something I'll never forget. Ethan's eyes widened. He whispered the words before Mr. Anderson could. Because maybe, one day, someone will help me too. The room went completely still. Mr. Anderson's eyes softened. So you do remember? Ethan couldn't speak. His throat tightened. He felt tears gathering in his eyes. You're that man. Mr. Anderson stood and walked around the desk. Yes, Ethan. I never forgot that night. I wrote your name down and kept it with me. I looked for you for years. Ethan was speechless. His voice shook. But how did you find me? Mr. Anderson smiled gently. I didn't, not right away. I created a scholarship program for orphans. Your application came through that program. When I saw your name and read your story, I knew it was you. Ethan covered his face, overwhelmed. Mr. Anderson put a hand on his shoulder. You changed my life that night, Ethan. I was a different man back then, too busy, too selfish. Your kindness reminded me what truly matters. I built this company to make a difference, just like you did for me. Ethan looked up, tears in his eyes. I just wanted to help. Mr. Anderson smiled. And that's why you're here. You helped me when I was lost. Now, I want to help you find your future. Ethan couldn't believe what he was hearing. That day, as Ethan left the office, he looked at the city outside, tall, bright, full of possibility. He wasn't just the orphan boy from Maplewood anymore. He was someone who had changed another person's life, and now, his own life was about to change too. But Ethan didn't know yet Mr. Anderson's plan for him was far greater than just an internship. The next morning, Ethan arrived early at Anderson Technologies. He barely slept that night. His mind kept replaying the moment when he discovered that Mr. James Anderson, the powerful CEO, was the same man he had helped all those years ago in Maplewood. It felt unreal. A small act of kindness from his childhood had somehow come back to him after so many years. As he entered the office, employees smiled and greeted him. He wasn't used to this kind of respect. He still felt like the same orphan boy just trying to find his place in the world. Rachel from HR met him near the elevator. "Ethan, Mr. Anderson wants to see you in his private office after lunch," she said kindly. Ethan nodded, feeling nervous all over again. "Okay, thank you." All morning, he tried to focus on his training tasks, helping the engineers with their designs, checking blueprints, learning new software, but his mind was elsewhere. Why did Mr. Anderson want to meet him again so soon? Was this about yesterday? Or was something else going on? At exactly 2 o'clock, he walked to the top floor. Mr. Anderson's assistant opened the door and smiled. "Go right in, Ethan. He's expecting you." Inside, the office was quiet, filled with sunlight from the large windows overlooking the city. Mr. Anderson stood by the glass, looking out at the skyline. "Come in, Ethan," he said, turning around with a warm smile. "I hope your first day went well." "Yes, sir," Ethan replied. "Everyone's been very kind." Mr. Anderson gestured for him to sit. "Good. Because today, I want to talk to you about something more important than work." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "More important than work?" Mr. Anderson nodded. "Ethan, last night after you left, I thought about how strange life is. Sometimes, one small moment can change everything. You helped me years ago, without knowing who I was. You had nothing, yet you gave kindness freely." Ethan lowered his eyes. "It wasn't a big thing, sir. You needed help, and I was there." Mr. Anderson smiled softly. "You think it wasn't a big thing, but that night changed me. I was a cold man back then. I cared more about money than people. But when that small boy helped me in the rain, expecting nothing, I realized something. I realized how far I had gone from being human." He paused for a moment, looking out the window again. "From that day, I started doing business differently. I began building not just machines, but opportunities for people who had none. This entire company was shaped by that one lesson you gave me." Ethan looked up, his eyes wide. I I never knew that." Mr. Anderson turned to him. "Of course you didn't. You went on with your life, struggling, surviving, never asking for anything. That's what makes your heart pure, Ethan." Ethan's throat tightened. He couldn't hold back his emotion. "I only wanted to do good, sir. My parents, they always told me to be kind, no matter what." Mr. Anderson nodded. "And you did. You've already succeeded in life more than many rich men ever will." He walked to his desk and opened a folder. Inside were several documents and a letter. He handed them to Ethan. Ethan looked confused. "What's this?" "Your new future," Mr. Anderson said with a gentle smile. "A full scholarship to the best engineering university in the country. I will pay for everything: your studies, housing, and living expenses." Ethan froze, staring at the papers. "A scholarship? But, why me?" Mr. Anderson's voice softened. "Because you earned it, Ethan. Because years ago, when no one cared about you, you still cared about others. You reminded me that good people exist. Now, I want to make sure the world doesn't forget you." Ethan's hands trembled as he held the papers. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Mr. Anderson said kindly. "Say you'll take this chance. I'm not giving it as charity. I'm giving it because I believe in you." Ethan stood there silently, eyes filled with tears. "I never thought someone would do something like this for me." Mr. Anderson smiled. "That's the beauty of life, Ethan. Kindness always comes back, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday." He placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You helped me when I was broken. Now, let me help you build your future." Ethan couldn't hold back anymore. Tears rolled down his cheeks. "Thank you, sir. Thank you so much." Mr. Anderson nodded softly. "One day, you'll do the same for someone else. That's how the world heals." That evening, Ethan walked out of the office building and stood on the sidewalk, staring at the city lights. Everything looked different now, brighter, warmer, full of meaning. He thought of his parents, the orphanage, the rainy street where it all began. If only they could see him now. He whispered to himself, they were right, kindness never disappears. The next day, Mr. Anderson called the whole team for a short meeting. He announced Ethan's scholarship in front of everyone. The office burst into applause. Ethan blushed, looking down, but Mr. Anderson spoke proudly. "This young man reminds us what real success looks like," he said. "It's not about power or money. It's about heart. And Ethan has the kind of heart this world needs." Everyone cheered, and Ethan smiled shyly. For the first time in his life, he felt seen not for what he lacked, but for who he truly was. That night, before sleeping, Ethan wrote in his notebook. "Years ago, I helped a stranger. Today, that stranger helped me. Life really does come full circle." He closed the notebook with a smile, whispering softly, "I'll make you proud, sir." Little did he know, this was just the beginning of a new journey, one where Ethan would not only change his own life, but also the lives of countless others. 5 years passed since that day when Mr. Anderson offered Ethan a new future. Time moved fast, but Ethan never forgot where it all began that rainy night, the broken car, and the stranger he once helped without expecting anything in return. Now, Ethan Miller was no longer the poor boy from Maplewood. He had become engineer Ethan Miller, a graduate from one of the top universities in the country. He had a degree, a stable job, and a world of opportunities ahead. But more than that, he had something far more valuable: a purpose. During his years in college, Ethan studied hard. Every time he faced difficulty, he remembered Mr. Anderson's words. "Kindness always comes back, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday." Those words became his strength. He graduated with top honors and even built a small invention, a low-cost water purifier that could help poor communities. The media praised him, but Ethan didn't seek fame. He only wanted to give others the same chance that life had finally given him. When he finished school, Mr. Anderson was there at his graduation ceremony. The old man clapped proudly as Ethan received his degree. After the ceremony, they sat together on a bench outside the university. The air was warm, the sky clear. "You've done well, Ethan," Mr. Anderson said. "You've made me proud." Ethan smiled softly. "I couldn't have done it without you, sir." Mr. Anderson shook his head. "You would have. You had the heart long before I came along. I just gave you a little push." Ethan looked at him seriously. "Then I want to do the same for others. I want to help kids like me, kids who have no one but still dream big." Mr. Anderson smiled knowingly. "That's exactly what I hoped you'd say." A year later, with Mr. Anderson's guidance and support, Ethan founded a nonprofit organization called the Second Chance Foundation. Its goal was simple: to help orphans, poor students, and struggling youth learn skills that could change their lives. The foundation offered free education, training, and housing for children who had no family to care for them. Ethan didn't just sit in an office. He visited every center personally, teaching kids how to fix machines, build tools, and believe in themselves. He often told them, "I was once just like you. Never think your story is over, it's only beginning." The children loved him. To them, Ethan wasn't just a teacher. He was proof that kindness could lead anywhere. One bright morning, 5 years after he started the foundation, Ethan stood on a stage at a new training center opening in Maplewood, his hometown. The hall was filled with local people, children, and reporters. Behind him stood a big banner. "One small act can change a life." Mr. Anderson, now older but still sharp, sat in the front row, smiling proudly. Ethan stepped up to the microphone. His voice was calm, filled with emotion. "Many years ago," he began, "I was just a hungry orphan walking home in the rain. That night, I saw a stranger whose car had broken down. I helped him, not because I had much but because I wanted to do what was right." The crowd listened quietly. "I didn't know that simple act would one day bring me here," he continued. "That stranger became the reason I could study, grow, and dream again. He changed my life completely." Ethan looked at Mr. Anderson in the audience. Their eyes met, and both smiled. "I learned something powerful," Ethan said. "You never lose anything by being kind. Sometimes, your smallest action becomes someone else's miracle." He paused, his eyes shining with tears. "And sometimes, that kindness comes back to you when you least expect it." The audience erupted into applause. After the ceremony, Ethan walked outside. The sun was setting, and the same road where he had once helped Mr. Anderson wasn't far away. He decided to take a short walk there for old time's sake. The street was quiet, the air cool. As he walked, he heard a sound, a small cry. He turned and saw a boy about 10 years old sitting near a bicycle with a broken chain. Ethan smiled and walked over. "Need some help?" The boy looked up nervously. "It's okay, sir. I'm trying to fix it myself." Ethan knelt beside him. "Here, let me show you something." Together, they fixed the chain in just a few minutes. The boy looked amazed. "Wow, how did you do that?" Ethan chuckled. "I've had some practice." As the boy stood, brushing dirt off his hands, he said, "Thank you, sir. Why did you help me?" Ethan paused, smiling softly, remembering the words he once spoke so long ago. "Because," he said gently, "maybe one day, someone will help you too." The boy grinned and rode away, waving happily. Ethan watched him go, his heart full. He looked up at the sky, glowing orange with sunset. "Full circle," he whispered. "It's all come full circle." Later that evening, Mr. Anderson joined him by the roadside. They stood quietly for a while, watching the lights come on in the town. "You did it, Ethan," Mr. Anderson said softly. "You turned your pain into purpose." Ethan smiled. "No, sir. We did it. You believed in me when no one else did." Mr. Anderson nodded. "And now, you're doing the same for others. That's how kindness keeps the world alive." They stood together in silence, two men bound by a simple act of goodness that had changed both their lives forever. As the night fell and stars appeared above, Ethan whispered, "Sometimes, one small act of kindness doesn't just change a moment, it changes a lifetime." The end.